उत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत् नष्टाप्रायेषु वज्रेषु नित्यं भागवतसेवया भगवति उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकीनन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः हरि ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 28, continuing from verse number 23. Let me quickly share. पशुवद्यवनैरेषा नीयमाना स्वकं क्षयम् अन्वद्रवन् अनुपथाः शोचयन्तो बृहशम् aturaha. When the Yavanas were taking King Puranjana away to their place, binding him like an animal, the king's followers became greatly aggrieved. While they lamented, they were forced to go along with him. Purim vihayopagata uparuddho bhujangamaha yada tam evanupuri vishirna prakritim gata. The serpent, who had already been arrested by the soldiers of Yavana Raja and was out of the city, began to follow his master along with the others. As soon as they all left the city, it was immediately dismantled and smashed to dust. Vikrishyamana prashabam yavanena baliyasa navindata tamasavishtaha sakhayam suhridam puraha. When King Puranjana was being dragged with great force by the powerful Yavanas out of his gross ignorance, he still could not remember his friend and well-wisher, the Super Soul. Tam yajñapasavo nena samyapta te samyapta ye dayaluna kutarai chidhidu kruddaha smaranto mivam asyatat. That most unkind King Puranjana had killed many animals in various sacrifices. Now, taking advantage of this opportunity, all these animals began to pierce him with their horns. It was as though he were being cut to pieces by axes. Anantapare tamasi magno nashta smriti samaha shashvatir anubhuyartin pramada sangadushitaha. Due to his contaminated association with women, a living entity like King Puranjana eternally suffers all the pangs of material existence and remain in the dark region of material life, bereft of all remembrance for many, many years. Tameva manasa gृह्णन् bahuva pramadottama anantaram vidarbhyasya raja simhasya veshmani. King Puranjana gave up his body while remembering his wife, and consequently in his next life he became a very beautiful and well situated woman. He took his next birth as the daughter of King Vidarbha in very house of the king. Upayeme वीर्यपणां वैदर्भीं मलयध्वजः यदि निर्जित्य राजन्यां पाण्ड्यः पाण्ड्या पुरञ्जयः sorry उपयेमे वीर्यपणां वैदर्भीमलयध्वजः यदि युधि निर्जित्य राजन्यान् पाण्ड्यः पर पुरञ्जयः. It was fixed that Vaidarbhi, daughter of King Vidarbha, was to be married to a very powerful man, Malaya Dhwaja, an inhabitant of Pandu country. After conquering other princes, he married the daughter of King Vidarbha. तस्यां सजनयां चक्रा आत्मजाम् असिते क्षणाम् यवीयसः सप्तसुतान् Sapta Dravida Bhubrataha. King Malaya Dwaja fathered one daughter who had very black eyes. He also had seven sons who later became rulers of that tract of land known as Dravida. Thus, there were seven kings in that land. एकैकस्याभवत्तेषां राजन् अर्बुदं भोक्ष्यते यद् वंशधरैर्मही मन्वन्तरं परम्. My dear king Prachina Barishat, the sons of Malayadwaja gave birth to many thousands and thousands of sons, and all of these have been protecting the entire world up to the end of one Manu's lifespan and even afterward. अगत्या प्राग्दुहितरम् उपयेमे धृतव्रतां यस्यां दृढच्युतो जाता इध्यम् इद्मवाहात्मजो मुनिः. The great sage named Agastya married the firstborn daughter of Malayadhwaja, the avowed devotee of Lord Krishna. From her one son was born, whose name was Dridachyuta, and from him another son was born, whose name is Idmavaha. विभज्य तनयेभ्यक्ष्मां राजर्षीन् मलयध्वजः आरिराध्यैषुः कृष्णं स जगाम कुलाचलम्. After this, the great saintly king Malayadhwaja divided his entire kingdom among his sons. Then, in order to worship Lord Krishna with full attention, he went to a solitary place called known as Kulachala. हित्वा गृहान् सुतान् भोगान् वैदर्भी मदिरेक्षणान् मदिरेक्षणाम् अन्वदावत पाण्ड्येशं ज्योत्स्नेव रजनीकरम्. Just as the moon shine follows the moon at night, immediately after King Malayadhwaja departed for Kulachala, his devoted wife, whose eyes were very enchanting, followed him, giving up all homely happiness despite family and children. Tatra Chandravasha Nama Tamraparni Vatodaka Tatpunya Salilair Nityam Ubhayatratmano उभयत्रात्मनो मृजन् कन्दास्तिभिर्मूलफलैर्पुष्पपर्णैस्तृणोदकैः वर्तमानः कर्षणं तप आस्थितः. In the province of Kulachala, there were rivers named Chandravasha, Tamraparni, and Vatovdaka. King Malayadhwaja used to go to those pious rivers regularly and take his bath there. Thus, he purified himself externally and internally. He took his bath and ate bulbs, seeds, leaves, flowers, roots, fruits, and grasses and drank water. In this way, he underwent severe austerities. Eventually, he became very skinny. शीतोष्णवता क्षुत् पिपासे प्रिया प्रिये सुखदुःखे इति द्वन्द्वाणि अजयत् समदर्शनः. Through austerity, King Malayadhwaja in body and mind gradually became equal to the dualities of cold and heat, happiness and distress, wind and rain, hunger and thirst, the pleasant and unpleasant. In this way, he conquered all relativities. तपसा विद्यया पक्वा कषायो नियमैर्यमैः युयुजे ब्रह्मण्यात्मानं विजिताक्षानीलाशयः. By worshipping, executing austerities, and following the regulative principles, King Malayadhwaja conquered his senses, his life, and his consciousness. Thus, he fixed everything on the central point of the Supreme Brahman, Krishna. आस्ते स्थाणुरिवैकत्र दिव्यं वर्षशतं स्थिरः वासुदेवे भगवति नान्यद्वेदोद्वहन् रतिम्. In this way, he stayed immovable in one place for 100 years by calculation of the demigods. After this time, he developed pure devotional attraction for Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and remained fixed in that position. सव्यापकतयात्मानं व्यतिरिक्ततयात्मनि Vidvan Swapna Ivamarša Sakshinam Viraramaha. King Malayadhwaja attained perfect knowledge by being able to distinguish the super soul from the individual soul. The individual soul is localized, whereas the super soul is all pervasive. He became perfect in knowledge and that the material body is not the soul, but that the soul is the witness of the material body. Sakshad Bhagavato Tena Guruna Harina Nripa Vishuddhagnana Deepena Spurata Vishwato Mukham. In this way, King Malayadhwaja attained perfect knowledge because in his pure state he was directly instructed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By means of such enlightening transcendental knowledge, he could understand everything from all angles of vision. परे ब्रह्मणि चात्मानं परब्रह्म तथात्मनि वीक्षमानो विहायेक्षाम् अस्माद् उपररामः. King Malayadhwaja could thus observe that the super soul was sitting by his side and that he, as the individual soul, was sitting by the side of the super soul. Since both were together, there was no need for separate interest. Thus, he ceased from such activities. पतिं परं धर्मज्ञं वैदर्भीमलयध्वजं प्रेम्णा पर्यचरदित्वा भोगान् सा पतिः देवता. The daughter of King Vidarbha accepted her husband all in all as the supreme. She gave up all the sensual enjoyment and in complete renunciation followed the principles of her husband who was so advanced. Thus she remained engaged in his service. So we will cover the remaining part tomorrow and shortly go through this from verse number 23 to 43. So here we are continuing after what happened to King Purañjana because he was so much attracted. At this last moment, he was remembering his wife, remembering her, and then finally, we can see what happened. When the Yavanas were thus taking King Puranjana away to their place, binding him like an animal, the king's followers became greatly aggrieved. While they lamented, they were forced to go along with him. So here we can see king's followers. Who are they? They are soul followers. Life, life heirs, and desires also go with him. Yeah, along with the soul, this is what will go. In the purport, Prabhupada is mentioning when Yamaraj and his assistants take a living entity away to the place of judgment, the life, life heir, and desires, three things, being followers of the living entity, also go with him. This is confirmed in the Vedas. Tam utkramantam, the life heir is also goes with him. And when the life air is gone, all the senses also go along. When the living entity and the life air are gone, the lump of matter produced of five elements earth, water, air, fire, and ether is rejected and left behind. The living entity then goes to the court of judgment, and Yamaraj decides what kind of body he is going to get next. This process is unknown to modern scientists. Every living entity is responsible for his activities in this life and after death. He is taken to the court of Yamaraj. Although the gross material body is left, the living entity and his desires, as well as the resultant reactions of his past activities, these go with him. It is Yamaraj who decides what kind of body one gets in the next. So, according to the actions. So after this, the serpent, now the serpent who had already been arrested by the soldiers of Yavana was out of the city, began to follow the master. So here it is said that when the living entity is arrested, all his followers, namely the life air and senses and subject, immediately leave the body. Yeah, and it is a foolish person who engages in improving conditions of the city without caring of the citizens of or inhabitants. So we should understand that important thing is the soul. If we are giving so much care, yeah, we are prioritizing a lot because of our own fear, our own anxiety, our own ignorance. But the point is that one should appreciate the soul to be superior and give more priority. One who labors under the bodily conception simply works like an ass and does not know his self-interest. It is therefore said, Yasya Atma Buddhi Kunape Tridhatuke. It's made of three things. Swadhiya Kalatradishu Bhauma Ijya Dhi Yat Tirtha Buddhi Salile Na Karhichit Janeshva Abhijeshu Sa Eva Go Khara. Go who is considered to be a go or kara or cow or ass is a human being who identifies this body made of three elements with this self, with his self, who considers the byproducts of the body to be his kinmen or kinsmen, who consider the land of birth worshipable, and who goes to a place of pilgrimage simply to take bath rather than meet men of transcendental knowledge there. There it is to be considered like an ass or a cow. So this is the from Bhagavatam 10th canto. It is said, in a modern civilization of cows and asses, scientists try to search out some value in the brain or heart of a dead man. This is what is happening. Uh, so when King Puranjana was being dragged with great force out of his gross ignorance, he still could not remember his friend and well-wisher, the super soul. Uh, Suhridam, Suhridam, Bhoktaram, Yajna Sapasam, Sarva Loka Maheshwaram, Suhridam Sarva Bhutanam, Gnatva Mam Shanti Mrichyati. Krishna is saying, I who understands that I am the uh, beneficiary of the yajnas and I am the well-wisher. Hmm? Um, a person can be in full Krishna consciousness and become happy and satisfied if he knows three things. One is that the Lord is the enjoyer of all benefits, that he is the proprietor of everything, and that he is the supreme friend of all living entities. If we know these three things, then we are happy. We are really in Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, we still are not yet there. So the word Sukhayam friend, Sakhayam friend is very significant in this verse because God is eternally present beside the living entity. So in that way, who else can be so close friend? Who can be a best friend? In the end of the purport, it is said, unfortunately, due to our bad association and great attachment for sense gratification, we do not remember our best friend, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Tam yajna pashavo nena. So that most unkind king had killed many animals, and while he is going, then he was eaten or what do you call pierced like axes. So how to understand this? Because the body, we think that the gross body is left. How can the material bodies, spiritual body suffer? Those who are very enthusiastic about killing animals in the name of religion must await similar punishment after death. So it is clear. The Vedas are saying the word mamsa means meat, indicates that those animals whom we kill will be given an opportunity to kill us. This is also not only in our religion, in Hinduism, we can also see the same in the Persian religions. Hmm? In fact, that is the reason when one is dead, the body is left on a gauze of what do you call spikes. The body is simply thrown on a gauze of spikes, and the eagles, vultures come and eat, can survive on it. Although in actuality no living entity is killed, the pain of being pierced by horns of animals will be experienced after death. Hmm. Not knowing this, rascals unhesitatingly go on killing poor animals. So, going further, Ananta Pare Tamasi, because of this material existence of darkness, due to his contaminated association with woman, King Puranjana suffered, bereft of all remembrance for many, many years. This is what happened. When in this way, there is a mention about in this purport 27 about pramada sanga dushitam, means indicate that apart from all other contamination, if one simply remains attached to a woman, that single contamination will be sufficient to prolong one's miserable material existence. In fact, in the Varnashrama, it is said, it enables one to detach himself from association of women. How? Huh? By regulating one's life. King Puranjana gave up his body while remembering his wife, and consequently, in his next life, he became a very beautiful, well situated woman. Um, so, this is what is the punishment, or this is what is the penalty of one not taking seriously the words of Krishna. Krishna is saying, Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tajantante kalevaram tam tam evaiti kaunteya sada tad bhava bhavitaha. He is saying the consciousness at the last moment decides the fate of one person. If one is not serious and trained in Krishna consciousness, he will be suffering. Why? Because he is just like King Puranjana was thinking about woman and then wife, and because of that he became himself a woman. Living entity is offered a new body by his superiors. Yamaraj and other demigod judge what kind of body one gets. It is not just coming by his own desire, but the superiors decide what kind of body he will get. Good Puranjana did pious fruitive activities, though overly attached to his wife. Hence, he became the daughter of Vidarbha. Another opportunity to advance in Krishna consciousness. I think our Bhagavan Prabhu, yeah, you were asking, did he again get a human form? What is the purpose of all other animals? Yeah, because he was also doing some pious things. That's why he could still retain his human birth. Anyway, this purport goes further and it says, if a person falls from the path of bhakti yoga, God realization due to attachment to fruitive activity, philosophical speculation, he is given a chance to take birth in a high and rich family. So that is the difference. When someone is falling from bhakti yoga due to attachment, all these things, he is given a chance. Vibhav. So, and the best thing in the conclusion of 28, it is said, the conclusion is that all our activities are taken into consideration before we are awarded another body. Narad Muni therefore advised Vyasadeva that one should take to Krishna consciousness and abandon all other occupational duties. This advice was also given by Lord Krishna himself. So everyone is telling only one thing, let's prioritize Krishna consciousness as genuinely, sincerely as possible in our life. We will have 101 things or even 1001 things or unlimited number of things to attend. But reality is that if we continue, then we continue. Mm. The mercy is also something, it doesn't come always. And then when it comes, we should not take it easy. Upayeme Virya Panam. So it was fixed that Vaidarbhi, daughter of King Vidarbha, was to be married to a very powerful man, Malayadhvaja. And here we can see who is Malayadhvaja. He is a Mahabhagavata. Hmm? Malayadhvaja, we can see the nature, which are the next verses saying, the Vedic system is for a daughter of a king to be offered under certain conditions. Vaidarbhi, the daughter of Vidarbha, was offered to a great devotee and powerful king. Since King Malayadhvaja was both powerful king and great devotee, he fulfilled all the requirements. So that is the sign here. The name Malaya Dhwaja. Malaya Dhwaja means Malaya means we know what is this hill? Malaya. Um, Not Himalaya. Hmm. Let me quickly. The name Malaya Dhwaja signifies a great devotee who stands as firm as Malaya hill and through his propaganda makes other devotees similarly as firm. Such a Mahabhagavat can prevail over the opinions of all others. A strong devotee makes propaganda against all other spiritual conceptions. So, in that way, with his devotional flag, he always stands fast in conquering other conceptions of transcendental realization. So, here, this is what it means. And here, who is the king? He is the king of uh, Pandu dynasty, Pandya dynasty. The word Pandya comes from the word Panda, meaning knowledge. We always say, Pandas, Pandits, Pandits. All this is coming from Panda means knowledge. Unless one is highly learned, he cannot conquer non devotional conceptions. The word para, transcendental, and pura means city. Para pura is Vaikuntha. Huh? So, all these things, only devotee can conquer the Lord. It is mentioned, the Lord is Ajita, means no one can conquer except a bhakta. One who is experienced, who is pure in his devotion, only he can conquer even the Lord. Hmm? This is what is mentioned, verse number 29. And then comes very nice, which is talk about King Malayadhwaja fathered one daughter who had very black eyes. Uh, he also had seven sons who later took the land of Dravida. Thus, there were seven kings in that land. King Malayadhwaja was a great devotee, and after he married the daughter of Vidarbha, he gave her one nice daughter whose eyes were black. Figuratively, what does that mean? This means that the daughter of Malayadhwaja was also bestowed with devotional service, for her eyes were always fixed on Krishna. That's what it means. And who are the seven sons? This verse is very important. If you want to make a note, you can make a note of verse number 30. What are the seven sons? Who are they? Hearing, chanting, remembering, offering worship, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, uh, offering prayers, Archanam, Vandanam, rendering transcendental loving service, and serving the lotus feet of the Lord. All this. Of the nine types of devotional service, what are the nine times? Shravanam to before Sakhyam, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, till Dasyam. Till Dasyam, it is all considered as Vaidhi Marga. Vidhi Marga means by regulations. Then comes Raga Marga. What is that? It is in the Sakhyam Atmanivedanam. These two come under Raga Marga. So here it is mentioned that Malayadhwaja, he also had seven sons who later became rulers of Dravida, of the king Dravida. And here um, there is the reference of Dravida Desha. The specific mention of Dravida Desha refers to the five Dravida Deshas in the South India. All are very strong in rendering the preliminary devotional process. Some great acharyas like Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya also came from Dravida Desha and became great preachers. They were all situated on the platform of Sakhya and Atmanivedana. Very important point. So then King Prachina Barishat and Malayadhwaja, King Prachina Barishat, um, Narad Muni is telling, sons of Malayadhwaja gave to thousands, gave birth to many thousands. And what does that mean? There are 14 Manus in one day of Brahma. A Manvantara is a lifespan of Manu is given to 70. Anyway, this is some technical things. Um, Everything is explained in Bhagavad Gita. What is important for us is among Vaishnavas, there may be some difference of opinion due to everyone's personal identity. But despite all personal differences, the cult of Krishna consciousness must go on. We can see that under the instructions of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj began preaching the Krishna consciousness movement in an organized way within the past 100 years. The disciples of Sri Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj are all God brothers, and although there are some differences of opinion, and although we are not acting conjointly, every one of us is spreading this Krishna consciousness movement according to his own capacity and producing many disciples to spread it all over the world. As far as we are concerned, we have already started the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, and many thousands of Europeans and Americans have joined this movement. Indeed, it is spreading like wildfire. So, this is what Prabhupada is sharing his experience, realization. Then, I think we read till 43, right? So, then it goes further. The great sage named Agastya married the first daughter of Malayadhwaja. Uh, From her one son was born whose name was Dridachyuta, and from him another son was born whose name is Idmavaha. So here we know when we are reading Ramayana we come across Agastya Muni. Agastya Muni represents the mind. The word Agastya indicates that the senses do not act independently, and the word Muni means mind. The mind is center of all senses, and thus the center cannot work independently of mind. When the mind takes to the cult of bhakti, it engages in devotional service. The cult of bhakti is the first daughter of Malayadhvaja. And as previously described, her eyes are always upon Krishna, asite kshanan. One cannot render bhakti to any demigod. Bhakti can be rendered only to Vishnu. Shravanam Kirtano Vishnu. So this is for the detail. And thus from Bhakti Lata, now when we are talking, the son Dridachyuta is born. From Dridachyuta, the son, next son is Idmavaha is born. The word Idmavaha refers to one who carries wood for burning in a sacrifice when approaching a spiritual master. The point is that Bhakti Lata, the cult of devotion, fixes one in his spiritual position. One so fixed never comes down, and he begets children who are strict followers of Shastric injunctions. Tad Vijnanartam Sagurum Eva Vigachet Samit Pani Shrotiyam Brahma Nishtam. So in this way, one engages seriously in devotional service. And then what happened? King Malayadwaja divided his entire kingdom upon among his sons. Then, in order to worship Lord Krishna, he went to a solitary space. So this is what is important, that one should wind up the business and engage in devotional life. Yeah, there is some details in 33 verse which is telling about two kinds of devotees. Um, it is mentioned only when one is mature can he sit in a solitary place. There is Goshtanandis, there is Bhajananandis. Bhajananandi means one who sits in a solitary place and engage in devotion without uh, any contact with anyone else. Whereas Ghoshta Nandi, they are preachers. They travel all around the world, Parivajakacharyas or traveling monks who go to different places to inspire everyone to become Krishna conscious. So, following this example, the devotees of the International Society of Krishna Consciousness now render service as preachers in various parts of the world. Now they can allow the spiritual master to retire from active preaching work. In the last stage of spiritual master's life, the devotees of the spiritual master should take preaching activities into their own hands. This is very important. Guru has brought some momentum of preaching and inspiring devotees, and his disciples should take over after when the spiritual master is in the last phase of his life. In this way, the spiritual master can sit down in a solitary place and render nirjana bhajana. Then he can engage in that. So, and it goes then further, just as the moon shine follows the moon at night, and here we describe the greatness of wife. Huh? As he went to Kulachala, his wife also followed. Hmm? What does that mean? Here we can understand now Malaya Dhwaja has become spiritual master of whom? His wife. And here it is said, now just as in the Vanaprastha stage the wife follows the husband, similarly when the spiritual master retires from Nirjana Bhajan, some of his advanced devotees follow him and engage in personal service. Anyway, so in short, it is saying that when the spiritual master, yeah, if he is going back to Vrindavan, Mayapur, or holy places as a retirement, not just because now he has come to that age, but after he is just more or less winding up his material or not material, his engagement in this world, then along with him to do some Vapu Seva, to attend to his needs. There are some advanced devotees who will be with him but not everyone. In other words, those who are very fond of family life should come forward in the service of spiritual master and abandon so-called happiness. A verse of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in Guru Ashtaka is significant. Yasya prasadat bhagavat prasada. A disciple should always remember that by serving the spiritual master, he can easily advance in Krishna consciousness. All the scriptures recommend this. Madirekshana is also significant in this verse. Sri Jiva Goswami has explained in Sandarbha that the word Madira means intoxicating. If one's eyes become intoxicated upon seeing the deity, he may be called Madirekshana. King Vidarbhi, sorry, or Vaidarbhi, eyes were very much enchanting. Why? Because just as one's eyes are Madirekshana when engaging in service of the temple deities, so she was completely fixed. She cannot fix, unless one is advanced devotee, he cannot fix his eyes on the deities in the temple. And then it goes further. So she also went, she attended in this way, he underwent severe austerities. Eventually, he became very, very thin because he went um, to the holy places, took bath in the holy rivers Chandravasha, Tamraparni, and Vatodaka. Uh, and what does that mean? We can definitely see that to advance in Krishna consciousness, one must control his bodily weight. Uh, so while we practice Krishna consciousness, that will be taken care. One should instead eat only prasadam and no more than required. All of these are meant to decrease the fat within the body so that one will not sleep more than desired and will not become inactive and lazy. Overindulgence in food will cause a man to sleep more than required. This human form of life is meant for austerity, and austerity means controlling sex, food intake, etc. In this way, time can be saved for spiritual activity and one can purify himself both externally and internally. Thus, the body and mind can be cleansed. So this tapasa vidyaya pakva, by worshipping, executing austerity, and following regulative principles, King Malayadwaja conquered his senses, his life, and his consciousness. Thus, he fixed everything on the central point of Krishna. So, consequently, when it is said herein that King Malayadwaja fixed his mind on Brahman, Brahman means the supreme personality of Godhead Vasudeva. In this way, he stayed immovable. After this time, he developed pure devotional service, attraction, and remained fixed in that position. Then, going forward, the individual soul, he could see next to him. He could see that uh, the Lord is in the form of the super soul, is present in every field of activity, whereas the living entity or individual soul is present in only localized body. All this is what Sakshat Bhagavatoktena Guruna Harina Nripa. So in this way, Malayadwaja attained perfect knowledge because in his pure state he was directly instructed by the Lord. So this reminds, or even Prabhupada mentions in the purport, reminds about 10.10 Bhagavad Gita. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam. So, so to those who are constantly devoted and worship me with love, I give them understanding by which they can come to me. So, dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayatite. So, Krishna is giving that intelligence. And then could King Malayadwaja could thus observe that the super soul was sitting by his side and that he, as the individual soul, was sitting by the side of super soul. Since both were together, there was no need for separate interest. Thus, he ceased from all activities. And with that stage, Patim Parama Dharma Jnam Vaidarbhi Malayadvajam Premna Paryacharad Divtva Bhogan Sa Pati Devata. After this, she remained engaged in his service. She gave up all the interest completely. She attained complete perfection, and with that, she also completely dedicated in the service of her husband. The purport we will talk tomorrow, and we'll finish this chapter. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Any thoughts or No? And yeah, thank you very much. We will finish tomorrow the same chapter. See you tomorrow. Panchakalpatarabhyascha kripa sindhubhyo cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Grandharaja Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaura Premanand. Hare Krishna.